Get settled, friends, because we have some books to talk about. Hello friends, I'm Rosa, welcome. So, we're talking February TBR today. This was supposed to have been 10 books, and then I on a whim, picked up another one. So we're at 11 books. We're gonna talk about them. My TBRs are always kind of like, it's not a checklist, it's more like guidelines, so I can always just say, well, I don't really feel like reading this book this month anyway. And so if I end up not reading all of the ones that we're talking about today, or I end up reading some other ones, that's completely okay. I'm fine with it. I just always have like an idea of what I want to read going into the month, but again, guidelines. So we're talking about 9 books, 1 graphic novel, and also 1 short story, if I recall correctly, but I could be wrong. All will be linked in the description box down below, so you can find links to both Book Depository, but also Amazon if you want to check out the books. We're starting out with my book club's primary pick though, and if you want to check out the book club, there's a link to that in the pinned comment as well. So the first book that I got on my TBR for February is For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. Sorry, the sequel is called For the Throne, so I just had that in my head for a second. But this is an adult fantasy, as far as I know, a little bit trigger heavy. Something about sacrifice. I can't remember exactly what it is because I actually never look up trigger warnings. Yeah, anyway. But we follow a girl who is the second daughter born in centuries. She's the only second daughter that's been born in centuries, and she has powers of some kind that she has a bit of a hard time trying to control and handle and everything. And as the second daughter born, she is supposed to be sacrificed to the wolf in the forest. So even though this means that she is, her life is threatened, but it also means that she actually gets to keep her village and her family safe because they can no longer be hit by her powers that she doesn't know how to control. Well, when the day arrives and she is to be given away to the wolf, she finds out that the wolf is actually not a wolf, but it's a man. And the magic that she possesses is actually not a curse. It's something that's very valuable and that she needs to learn to control so that she can save the Wilderwood, which is where she lives and her family lives. And so I suppose there's a little bit of a love story in there as well, but I could be wrong about that, so don't quote me on it, but I feel like there might be. But that's what For the Wolf is. The sequel is out already. I think it came out last year. So I don't want to cover up these, and there's no room over there, so I'm just gonna put it aside. Anyway, our book club's secondary pick is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, which is, I want to call it, it's YA, but I want to call it historical fantasy because it takes place in the 1920s Shanghai, but it's not historical fiction, there's a fantasy aspect to it, and also romance. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so we follow Juliet and Roma, who are from 2 opposing crime families in Shanghai. They're like rivaling crime families. However, the 2 of them have also got some history because they used to date. And when there's a virus sweeping through Shanghai, the 2 of them find themselves in a bit of a funny position because suddenly they have to work together to figure out what is happening with this virus and how can we stop it. And so that is what These Violent Delights is about. And I'm very excited for this because I have held off on it for so long. So I'm very, very excited to be reading this with the book club in February. Then we're also, because we're doing a Play to Prisoner read-along right now, and we finished Guild, so we are starting Glint by Raven Kennedy here in February, which I think we'll finish sometime in March because there's like a lot of pages in this book, actually a surprising amount. 460, so it'll be a couple of weeks. But overall, this story is about Oren, who is, I almost want to say she's made out of gold. There are some very mysterious circumstances to her appearance in the first one, but she's also, so it's a King Midas retelling. She is currently caged as we start out Guild. She's caged inside a castle to keep her safe, but also make sure that she doesn't run off. And the person who is keeping her there is King Midas. He's supposed to have this, like, he's obsessed with gold, more or less. He's supposed to have, like, a golden touch so he can turn things into gold. The kings in this kingdom have different powers. There's a guy who can literally turn people to rot. His name is Rot. Anyway. But Oren has been in this cage for a very long time. It's all she knows. That's where she feels safe. And then one day King Midas decides to basically trade her off. Basically the deal is, if you give me your army for this purpose, I will let you have Oren for a night. And Oren is like, what? because she loves King Midas, she thinks King Midas loves her, and is doing everything he can to protect her. So why is he just trading her off like that? You know? And so she starts to question what is happening here, and things start to move in the kingdom and stuff, and that's all I'm gonna say. So I will say the first one kind of left off on a cliffhanger, and I have questions. Like, I need to know things. Hopefully this will answer some of my questions, but we'll see. Then I have a graphic novel, which is Monstress. So I have read volume 1, this is volume 2, and I hope to be reading it here in February. This is a little bit hard to explain, but essentially it takes place in like Art Deco inspired world where the witches and the arcana, which is another race, are fighting, and there's this girl on the run who has been given powers by the gods, and she doesn't know how to control them, and they're kind of creepy, and she's on the run, and there are some mysterious circumstances to the disappearance of her mother and how she even ended up being on the run and stuff. And so this is about her mainly coming to know her powers, getting to work together with the gods, but also what's happening in this world with the arcana and the witches fighting each other. And there's a cute little fox. Like, look at, so adorable. I want to see because I found a pic. Ooh, I don't know what's going on there, but that was kind of creepy. Or I forgot to say, but this is very much, this is adult fantasy romance, but this is very much adult fantasy horror as well. Let's call it horror, because there's definitely, it's very gory at times. Like, yes, very gory at times. I'm trying to find a picture of the fox, and everything I'm seeing is blood. Like, look at this. This is a little cat who can talk. Look at him. Look how cute he is. He looks so angry. And here's our fox friends. With the cat! Fox and cat! Okay, anyway. I think it's nice that it's so gory and horror, but there's still like this cuteness to it. I don't know. The cat is so not cute when he talks, but he's quite cute to look at. So, Monstress Volume 2. And then the last one that I picked up on a whim, because I've been wanting to read it for the entirety of January. Like, I have really been like going over there to my shelf to like touch it, not to be a creep. But I've been so close to picking it off my shelf. So many times. So I'm finally reading Illuminae by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman. Can I tell you exactly what this is about? No. But I also don't really want to know. All I know is that we follow a young girl, because this is YA sci-fi, but I think there's also some romance in it. Don't quote me on it though. But we follow a girl seemingly with pink hair. Don't ask me how I know or why I think so, but I think she has pink hair, who just broke up with her boyfriend. And then things start to go really bad in this world that she's living in, which I don't really know like what's like, I don't really know more than that. But this is so interesting because this book is made up, it's not written in the typical way, it's made up of like documents and interviews and emails and stuff like that. Like, it's just a lot of correspondences back and forth. There's a couple of pictures here and there, like some weird stuff like this as well, right? Don't read anything because you might come across spoilers. It's, yeah, classified documents right here. Here's an interview as well. Like, it's just kind of like stuff like this, very gimmicky, but I'm very curious to see exactly what's going on in this. So I'm making room for this in February. I really want to read it finally and see what the fuss is about. And I own the other two, which is why I keep looking over there, but they're standing over there on their shelves. So I own the other two, and if I like this one, I'm gonna binge it, I think. So yes, Illuminae, finally, about time. Then we have 2 arcs. Or is it 3? I have a list. 2 arcs. I have The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi by Shannon Chakraborty, which I'm finally reading. I mean, finally. I got it approved like 2 weeks ago, but it feels like it's a finally. I've been wanting to read it ever since I saw the email, so I'm just very excited to go into it. Definitely happening this week as well. But in this one, we follow Amina, who is a pirate, and she has been on so many different quests, so many different missions, so many different objects she's gone out to collect, and so on and so on. But she has kind of hit a point in her life where she's about to set this whole piracy thing aside and just go home and be a mom. However, then she is given a last chance at becoming a legend because one of her old crewmates' mothers contacts her one day with a quest. She wants her to go out and get someone's missing daughter. I can't remember exactly the connection there, but someone's missing daughter. And so Amina is like, okay, I'm gonna do this because she is really she wants that greatness, you know? And as she's going on this quest, she finds out that things are not really the way that she thought they would be, and there might be a little bit more to this situation than she first was told. So that's what that is about. I think this is the first one in... It's not a standalone. Is it a duology or a trilogy? I think it's a trilogy, so don't quote me on it though, but very excited to go into it. And the other one that I'm also reading is actually another Hannah Witten book. It's the Foxglove King, which I can't remember what's about. It's an adult fantasy romance though, and I remember we follow a girl who has curious powers, something about raising the dead, and her powers are she's supposed to keep them secret because there's like the king is very interested in having people, he basically kidnaps people who have these kinds of powers. So she's supposed to keep them safe and secret, however fails to do so. So she ends up at the king's palace where she's given a task to solve some kind of mystery, and so that's what that's about. Her also making alliances with people at the palace and getting help to solve this mystery, and also if she doesn't solve it, she's dead. So she's really set on solving this mystery. But that's as much as I can remember, as much as I can just like quickly skim from the synopsis. So I'm very excited to go into it. I'd rather not know more than that. I hope that it'll be a good book, but we'll see. And then the last 4 books are books that I have downloaded on KU, Kindle Unlimited, and decided that I want to put on my February TBR because I still have KU here in February. So the first one is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. They actually have all 3 on there, so if I like the first one, I might give them a shot. We'll see, but I'm not getting my hopes up. But we'll see. What I know about The Gilded Wolves is that it is YA fantasy with romance, and we follow a group of people who are set out on a heist to steal back what I think is like art or something. That's all I know. I love a good heist story. It has been compared to Six of Crows, but also a lot of people who have read The Gilded Wolves said that it's nothing like the Six of Crows. Did I just call it the Six of Crows? It's nothing like Six of Crows, so we'll see. I feel like that's why I need to stay a little bit like don't get my expectations up, because I love Six of Crows. Like the crows are my babies. So if these characters don't hit the same way, you know. Yeah. Then we have a rom-com, which is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. It is a companion novel to Things We Never Got Over, which I gave a full-on 5 stars when I read last year. I thought it was so good. So the sequel, or it's not a sequel, companion novel is coming out at the end of February. I've been looking forward to it ever since I found out that it was coming out. And I believe that it follows, I don't know which tropes we got to deal with. I think it's good guy, bad girl, but other than that, I don't actually know. But I think we're following Knox's brother, so Knox, the lead guy from the first book. I think we follow his brother because he's supposed to, is his name Nash? I think his name is Nash, and he's like super nice and just the opposite of his brother, essentially. Very smiley, not brooding, you know, that kind of guy. And then we follow a bit of a troublemaker in the city as well, but other than that, I don't actually know. I just want to go into it. I loved Things We Never Got Over. I thought it was so good and so charming, and I just don't want to know more than that, so... But very excited to get reacquainted with these characters as well, because I enjoyed them so much. And then I am reading also on KU a book called The Bone Witch by Ivy Asher. So no, not this The Bone Witch by Rin Chopeko, but another one. Another Bone Witch. I've had my eyes on this book for what I feel like is like 1.5 years or something, and it's just one of those that I keep like pushing off reading, but I gotta stop doing that because I do that with a lot of books. Like the ones that I really feel I'm gonna love, I keep pushing them. It's a problem I have. It's really dumb. So we're gonna read this finally in February. I am set on it. It's adult fantasy romance, and what I know is that we follow a girl who she's been given powers from her ancestors, so she's a bone witch. She never asked for these powers, but she didn't get to choose. And then one day a guy arrives at her doorstep who's like, you gotta come with me because people are hunting down bone witches and I'm gonna keep you safe. So they run off together and she has to learn to control her powers as well. Just learn how to use them. And that's all I know. So, but reviews are pretty good on that one, so I'm very excited. And then the last book is one that I've also downloaded on KU that I am kind of thinking is gonna disappear from KU at some point, so I really want to read it before it does. But it's, I hope I can pronounce this right, a psalm for the wild build. I don't know what psalm is, P-S-A-L-M. I need to look up that word because I have questions. But it's by Becky Chambers and it's a short story. So this is adult, well, it's a short story but also adult sci-fi. We follow a robot. That's literally all I know. A robot who somehow is self-aware. That's all I know, and that's all I want to know going into it. But knowing, I have not read anything by Becky Chambers before, but I do know that she's very much about the vibes instead of the plot, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be, before going into The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, I think it's I can't actually read the title from here, but I feel like it's easier for me to remember that very long title if I can just see the book. So anyway, I think it's good for, it would be good for me to go through the short story to see what her vibe is before actually delving into a bit of a longer book of hers. So I singled this one out. We're going into it. There's also a sequel to it, so I might get through that as well if I like the first one, but we will see. But those were my 11 books, short stories, graphic novels, but everything's up for change. I'm not gonna stick to it if I don't want to read anything, but these are at least my guidelines for February. Again, if you want to check out the books, I will be leaving links to them in the description box. If you have read any of the books that I've talked about today, feel free to let me know. Let me know your opinions on them, if you like them or dislike them. And I think that is all I got for you guys today. So if you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also bookish unboxings and weekly vlogs are making a comeback soon. I'm just very slow at editing them, but they are coming back to the channel. I also do readathons and wrap-up videos and all the other booktube stuff. So if that's of any interest to you, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button as well. But I'm gonna go now. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, you know you're beautiful.